بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Dr. Amit, send one confirmation that you are in. Just say salam so we know. So, the two major types of tafsir, two major types of tafsir of the Quran are, number one, tafsir of
تفسير
which is not nuqli,
نقلي
naqli, which is textual.
نقلي.
Textual, okay? So the tafsir that is textual. The tafsir that is textual, and what do we call it? We call it here ma'thur. Textual. Is this correct? Textual? E, where is E? Here? T-E, textual, yes. Textual. Which is ma'thur. It means ma'thur. What does ma'thur mean, Dr. Ali? What does textual mean? That the mufassir, the exegist, the one who is explaining or writing the tafsir, sticks to the source. What is the source? In this case, the source, the aqwal, the sayings of the Sahaba, the Tabi'een, and Ahlul Bayt, the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. He says, this is not my opinion. I am doing tafsir of this ayah. مَرَجَ الْبَحْرَيْنِ يَلْتَقِيَانِ بَيْنَهُمَا بَرْزَخٌ لَا يَبْغِيَانِ. I am bringing the explanation. If he inclines toward the Sahaba tradition, he says the Sahaba, fulan, fulan, or Tabi'een, the second generation. If he inclines towards Ahlul Bayt, then he says the Imam of Ahl, Imam al-Baqir, Imam al-Sadiq, Imam Zayn al-Abidin says this and this and that. Okay? So that is the meaning of ma'thur. Most of the time, 99% of the time, they put the opinion of the early leaders on both sides in their books. What was the setback of this type of tafsir? Al-ma'thur, or the textual. That depends on the text and the sayings. What was the main concern about it? The main one. It has many, many flaws. But which one was the most dangerous?
It wasn't filtered.
Exactly. So can you elaborate on that? It was not filtered because it contained many
Fabrications or
Israelites.
yeah.
These Israelites came from the Sahaba. Some of the Sahaba, they were enchanted with foreign movies. Don't you have some people now in America? They don't like Hollywood movies. They like Italian movies, French movies, Bollywood movies. They go and watch them. Okay? They were enchanted, some of the Sahaba, they were enchanted with earlier generations, with scriptures, with what earlier communities had. Why? What was the reason for that? Because it was dramatic. These stories were very dramatic. Okay? And people like to see, drama, always. They want to see drama. So these tafasir, on both sides, on the Shia and Sunni sides, they carry with them, many of them, many, not all, many of them, they carry these Israelite narrations, which the vast number of them are not correct, are superstitions. Okay, asatir, superstitions. Now, Hajj Najat, we have two types of main tafsir. One is ma'thur, textual, that is based on the text, based on interviewing the Sahaba and seeing what they say. What is the second type? Versus what? Ma'thur versus aqli or ijtihadi. عقلي or اجتهادي. عقلي versus عقلي, okay? عقلي or اجتهادي, which means based on what? On personal, no, text, this one This one based on personal what? Opinion. Opinion. Okay? Is it?
It's
OPI? Yeah, OPI. And then? N. N. N-O-N?
And
N-I-O-N. Okay. If you can read it. Yeah. Personal opinion. اجتهادي. تفسير اجتهادي. تفسير اجتهادي sounds good. Because God says, I want you to understand the Quran. You do tadabbur to the Quran. You try to discover the secrets of the Quran, the wonders of the Quran, the knowledge of the Quran. But also sometimes you reach a point that it becomes dangerous. He says, this is what I think God is saying. And the other one says, no. You know, regarding layl, ثم أتم الصيام إلى الليل. When you ask the other side, listen, God says layl, not sunset. They say, but in Arabic, layl is when the sun sits. Layl begins. So we are not doing something wrong. Whereas no, we say, you know what? Why God said layl? Because God was able to say ghurub. Because He uses ghurub in the Quran. God uses the term ghurub, the term maghrib, okay? He uses those, but He didn't say it. When it comes to fasting, He didn't say ghurub or maghrib. He specifically used layl because He has a point. He has a point in that you have to wait until it gets a little bit dark. So you make sure that the sun is over and the night falls, okay? So, تفسير الاجتهادي, it is good in the sense that you incorporate your aql, your mind, to try to find what God is saying. But sometimes it becomes dangerous because it shifts away from the main meaning. And then we start to have a problem, such as what? One of the ayat that is controversial among the Muslims is أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. Obey God, obey the apostle, and obey the leaders among you. أولي الأمر منكم. So God and apostle, no, we have no problem. But أولي الأمر, Saudi Arabia says, King Salman is أولي الأمر. من أولي الأمر? He's in charge. Okay? Fulan is أولي الأمر. But in the Shia tradition, the tafsir of Ahlul Bayt, أولي الأمر are the Imams of Ahlul Bayt, the successors to Prophet Muhammad. Not anyone who appointed himself, who grabbed power, and then he says, I am caliph. Because Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, he used this ayah to say, I am the caliph, I am the legitimate. Because I'm in charge. See, I took part of Syria, part of Iraq. I established the state, so I am Uli al-Amr now. I am Waliul Amr. I'm in charge. And now they appointed after his, he went to Jahannam, they appointed another thug, after him. So he says, I am Waliul Amr, because I'm in charge. Any person who even he reaches power by what? Kudeta. By violence, by killing the others, he becomes Ulil Amr. So is this right to say Ulil Amr are the current rulers? It's not right. This comes from the opinion, personal opinion. Personal opinion is versus the ma'thur. See, أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم, the tafsir of it, you take it from the ma'thur, from Ahlul Bayt. Let's see what Ahlul Bayt said. What did they say? They say Ahlul Bayt. They say this is a reference to the Imams, infallible Imams. You must obey them. Someone who is not infallible, you don't have to obey him. Maybe you obey your dad, no problem. Your boss, you must obey your boss because you work for him, okay? But you don't have religiously to obey. Religiously, you don't have to obey other than God, the Prophet, and the Imams. You don't have to obey them. Even if the marja, do you religiously have to obey him? No. If you want, you may obey him. And if you don't obey him. Sometimes the marja says, tomorrow is, Ramadan, the last day of Ramadan. But today you saw the moon yourself. You saw the new moon. You don't have to listen to the marja. You listen to your aql because you saw it. This is dalil qat'i. When you see it, dalil qat'i. The fatwa of the marja, dalil what? Dhanni. So when you have dalil qat'i comes first. Then you don't follow the dalil of dhanni. Okay? So this is the difference, Hajj and Najat, between the two traditions. One is ma'thur, based on the text. It sounds excellent, but it has some flaws. What are the flaws in this type of tafsir? Israelites, fabrications sometimes, unfortunately. This one, personal opinion, he says, let me use my brain. But then it carries another danger. There might be not Israelites in them, in this one. But what is the danger of it? Based on your personal opinion. And who says your personal opinion is correct? Who says? Now, what are the main tafasir on this tradition, in this one? What are the main ones? Didn't we study some of them? We said the very early ones. Can you mention some names for me? No. Those are mufassirin. I'm speaking about books. Books. Who wrote books? Imam Ali, Ibn Abbas, others, Abdullah bin Mas'ud, are the mentors, the teachers. But those who compiled it, compiled the sayings of Imam Ali, Ibn Abbas, Abdullah bin Mas'ud in books. So what was the earliest one which was compiled in a book? We mentioned some of them. Ahsant. One of them is Mujahid. Look at your papers. The other was what? We gave them according to the chronicle order, from the oldest to the newest. So As-Sadi, As-Sudai, Al-Kabir. The other one is Al-Kalbi. The other one we said Tafsir Abu Hamza Al-Thamali. Do you remember? We spoke about it last time. We said Abu Hamza was the follower, the companion of 4 Imams. Who were those 4 Imams? Abu Hamza was their Imam. Ahsant. 4, 5, 6, 7. Imam al-Sajjad, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, and Imam Musa al-Kadhim. So imagine he was with 4 Imams. So he had a chance to get the Quran, the entire tafsir of the Quran from the 4 Imams. And there are Tafsir Ibn Jurayh, Tafsir Muqatil ibn Sulaiman, Tafsir Abil Jarud. Today we come to this tafsir, one of the most important tafsir in the Sunni tradition, and that is the tafsir of At-Tabari. At-Tabari, please write his name. His name, they call him Al-Imam. Al-Imam Abu Ja'far. His nickname is Abu Ja'far. And then his name is Muhammad ibn Jarir At-Tabari. He was born 224 and he died 310 Hijri. Where was he born, Muhammad ibn Jarir al-Tabari, my friends? Look at this Tabari. Where is Tabari? Tabari is Tabaristan. Tabaristan today is called what? Today it's called Mazandaran. The ancient name of it is Tabaristan. The new name, contemporary name, is Mazandaran, and he was born in the city of Amul. Amul in Mazandaran, in Tabaristan. But then he lived most of his life traveling, searching for knowledge. He was really intelligent, very intelligent and crazy about knowledge. Some people are crazy about knowledge. They study non-stop, non-stop, non-stop. So he lived in the Arabian Peninsula. He went to Cairo. He went to, Sham, and he came eventually to Baghdad. And he lived the last years of his life in Baghdad. Baghdad at that time was under the influence of what tradition? What Sunni tradition? The tradition of Hanbali. Hanbali tradition. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. And how, Dr. Ali, how Hanbalis are distinguished from other Sunnis, from Shafi'is, from Malikis, from Hanafis? They are distinguished in what?
Hanbali was more of like, Ahmad bin Hanbal was more of a journalist. He wasn't so much as a...
No. He's muhaddith, transmitter of hadith. This is why among the six books is the last one, Musnad al-Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. In the Sunni tradition,
Right.
the muhaddith, the transmitter of hadith, Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, Nisa'i, Ibn Majah, and Ahmad ibn Hanbal. So he was not a journalist.
Not a journalist.
He was a transmitter, muhaddith, transmitter of hadith. However, he was muhaddith and faqih, but he and his cult, his tradition, were distinguished from other Sunnis by being what?
Taking the meaning as is, not
The literal meaning. Ahsanti, the literal meaning. Okay? So the Quran says, Ar-Rahmanu ala al-Arsh istawa. The most gracious, which is God, istawa. Istawa in Arabic means he sat on the throne. Ala al-Arsh istawa. So Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal says, then God has a throne, physical throne. Physical throne, and he sits on his throne. And then some other scholars who hail from Hanbali background, they say the throne of God is too small for him. Too small for him. Have you seen some, without comparison, some people when they board the airplane, you look at them, that economy seat is very small for them. They overflow on this side and that side. Last night I had to sit, 5-6 hours, leaning, because the guy was, me and the poor lady who was sitting there. So they say when God sits on the on the throne, wallah, this is not a joke. The seat, his throne is too small for him, so you can see his thigh, his whatever, on both sides. And also the Hanbali were also what? More radical than others. Maybe after Umar ibn al-Khattab, the history of radicalism started in Islam with Umar ibn al-Khattab. Was very radical and very harsh. And he would use violence. And Umar ibn al-Khattab was known, if you read about his ahwal, in all books, this has nothing to do with sectarianism. He had durra. Durra is a small asa, small stick. He would carry it. And he doesn't speak. If someone does wrong, he doesn't like it, tick, tick. He hits people with his durra. He hits thousands of people. He would carry it with him like a police officer when I was a child. Police officer, the Mudir al-Shurta, the chief of police in Karbala, he had stick. He would bring it with him, and this is why we were afraid of him. He used the durra to silence people, to get their attention. Tak, 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 left and right. After him, Ahmad ibn Hanbal inherited this tradition of violence and his followers. So they were very radicals. Tabari, when he moved to Baghdad, during the time of the dominance of this group, the ISIS of the time, though he's Sunni, so when they found him speaking in favor of Ahl al-Bayt in his tafsir, جامع البيان في تأويل القرآن, because sometimes you cannot neglect, you cannot look at the sun and say this is dark. Can you look at the sun, broad daylight, and say now it's night? You can't say that. You can't. So the virtues of Ahl al-Bayt are very shining in the Quran. Anyone who has a little bit of conscience, when he comes, to let's say Ayatul Tathir. Ayatul Tathir, إنما يريد الله 33. Surah Al-Ahzab, إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت. Tabari says there are 16 narrations. He brings 16, not one or two, 16 different narrations on behalf of 16 different sources, not one source. 16 different sources. 16. He says that this ayah is exclusive to what? To Ahlul Bayt. To Ali, Fatima, Hassan, and Hussein. 16 sources. If you check his tafsir Jami' al-Bayan, he says this is evidence number 1, evidence number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 16. Wow, 16 is a lot. It fills 2 pages, 2 full pages. And then he says there is another one on the authority of Akrama. Akrama was a follower of Ahlul Bayt. But sometimes, as I said earlier, when they fabricate, they attribute the hadith to whom? To Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas never said this hadith. Why they attribute it to Ibn Abbas? Or to Imam Ali sometimes, to Imam Ali. Why? Why they do this? Because they are credible. So if people know that Ibn Abbas said this hadith, that's it. They are certain that this hadith is right. So some fabricators are genius. He does not attribute the hadith to him because he's nothing. Nobody's going to believe him. So he puts the name of Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Ali ibn Abi Talib. Whereas those people never said this. Even some people attributed hadith to Ahmad ibn Hanbal himself. I told you the story of a liar in the mosque. He was attributing the hadith to Ahmad, and Ahmad was sitting there. So Ahmad said to him, wait a minute, I am Ahmad ibn Hanbal. He said, you think you are the only Ahmad ibn Hanbal in town? There are 15 Ahmad ibn Hanbals.
Say, sir, I thought we talked about Ahmad ibn Hanbal before, where he was more of, he goes after hadith more than being of tafsir.
Yes, yes. Tafsir. Yeah, he's not known as Mufassir. He's known as Musnad. He has Musnad, okay? And he's a leader of fiqh tradition, the 4th tradition in the Sunni tradition. So he's muhaddith. He's more of transmitter of hadith, not mufassir. Right. I'm not speaking about tafsir here. I'm speaking about Tabari. Right. And Tabari went to Baghdad when Baghdad was dominated by Ahmad ibn Hanbal's school. And Ahmad ibn Hanbal is one of the leaders, after Umar ibn al-Khattab, is one of the leaders of the school of what? Opinion. School of opinion. Ahmad ibn Hanbal was one of the people of the school of opinion. Okay? So Tabari, when he puts this in his book, Tafsir, and they see that he speaks, he's not doing Ahlul Bayt a favor. He's speaking the truth. Immediately at that time, they call him what? As I mentioned last time, if you criticize Israel in this country, immediately you are anti what? Semitic. No question about it. Anti-Semitic. At that time, if you mention the truth about Ahlul Bayt, For instance, if you say Surah Al-Insan, هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم ي-" this came to praise Ahlul Bayt. Immediately you are called what? Rafidi. Rejector. Rejector of what? Rejector of what? No, no, no. Rejector of the Khilafah of Shaykhain. رافضي لخلافة الشيخين. This is the meaning of Rafidi. He doesn't accept the Khilafah of Abu Bakr and Umar. That is the meaning of Rafidi. Not Islam, no. Okay? So he, though he's Sunni, but then because, he had to put some truth in his book. And therefore he was under house arrest because the mobs, they threatened his life. And at that time, during the Abbasi's time, the police, of course, Baghdad has police force at that time, had to protect his house against the attack of the mobs because they wanted to kill him. He was Rafidi. So he spent the last few years of his life where? Under house arrest until he died. And though his death was not announced because they feared that they're going to, do something to his body, to burn his body, to excavate his grave. So he died during the lifetime, the last days of his life, isolated and threatened and intimidated because he was named Rafidi. Just because of his, stand with Ahlul Bayt, speaking the truth. Though he has in his book is not immaculate, don't get me wrong. His book has some Israelites, many Israelites, not one or two. His book has many Israelites that some of them does not make sense. One of them is the earth is carried on the back of what? A whale. So one day, God said to the whale, I want you to make, some dancing, Little bit. So whenever you feel the earthquake here, this mal'oon whale is shaking, is dancing.
Shaking the blues.
This is in his book. We can't accept this. This is Israelite story. What is going on, Najat?
I just don't understand. How could he say that and know that and then write silly stuff like God's skies are falling off?
Because he gets it. Because we said ma'thur. The problem was the ma'thur has good part and bad part. Because when you come to Sahabi, to Tabi'i, and tell him, can you help me understand the Quran? So he tells you the stories. He's going to mix both, the right and the wrong. Okay? The ghath and samin, the safe and the not safe. So this is the problem with the ma'thur. Ma'thur is good as long as everything is authentic. But the problem is not everything is even when they narrate on behalf of Ahlul Bayt. We're going to come to some Shia tafasir. We're going to study them soon. Unfortunately, he says this is Imam al-Sadiq. But Imam al-Sadiq never said this. Why? Because we have a problem in the chain of what? Narrators. We have a problem. Or sometimes we have a problem with the Nussakh. Nussakh are the scribes. And I'll give you a story from his time. Abu Ja'far al-Tabari, of course, he is nicknamed what? Even today, he is nicknamed Imam al-Mufassirin. The Imam, the leader of all Mufassirin. Imam al-Mufassirin. Why he's Imam al-Mufassirin? Because they say his tafsir is the most comprehensive tafsir. And you really enjoy it when you read it. It has a credibility, it has comprehension, it tells you the details about the ayah, the grammar of the ayah, how to understand the ayah, what does the ulama, So they say if you want to know the opinion of all the mufassirin, read his book. It's very comprehensive. It gives you all the opinions without any exclusion. This is why his tafsir is important. Imam al-Mufassirin. And in the Sunni tradition, if you don't read this book, then you don't understand the Quran.
So he's respected, even though he was a Rafidi, he's still...
Yeah, Rafidi in here with those people in Baghdad, but not at the larger scene. Of course, even Ibn Taymiyyah respects him. Many other ulama, many other, scholars, they respect him, including the Shias. They also respect him. Some of our Shia scholars, they say he was a pro-Ahlul Bayt, but unfortunately politics, because he comes from this place, Amul, and at that time, this place, Mazandaran, was Shia. So his roots are from Shia. But because he lived in Baghdad, and Baghdad was under the influence of the anti-Shia, in fact, anti-Shia. Baghdad was anti-Shia because Baghdad was established by the Abbasides, anti-Shia. So he's Imam al-Mufassirin, and also he has two he's special in two things, two fields. One tafsir, and what is the second? Tariq, ahsant, history. This is why he has Tariq al-Tabari. Tariq al-Tabari is the very most popular history of book in the Sunni tradition. My friends, if you go to any library of any Sunni scholar today, and Shia scholar, including me, we have these two books. We have Jami' al-Bayan, the Tafsir of Tabari, and the Tariq of Tabari. Because also his book of history is very comprehensive and very detailed. And they trust him. They trust him. What he writes in his book is trusted and accepted. But look at politics. I mentioned this probably some time ago, that there is some discrepancy between his tafsir and his history. When he comes, let me give you the page in case one day you see the books or I bring them here. If you go to his tafsir, if you go to his tafsir, if you go to his tafsir, volume 19, page 75. And this is history. Okay, this is tafsir. When he comes to the ayah 26, chapter 26, verse 214, Ash-Shu'ara. We have a chapter in the Quran called Ash-Shu'ara. This chapter is 26, verse 214. The chapter says to the Prophet, وَأَنذِرْ, the verse says to the Prophet, وَأَنذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ. O Muhammad, warn and tell and proclaim to your close family, to your inner family. So the Mufassirin, they all say the Prophet gathered his Bani Hashim, his family. In Mecca, this is in Mecca. He was just starting his mission, in the beginning of his mission. And he said to them, God sent me as a messenger, and I want some of you to help me. And whoever is going to help me, he is going to be my brother. This is exactly what he said. أَلَا أَنْ يَكُونَ أَخِي وَوَصِيِّي وَخَلِيفَتِي. Three things. He becomes Akhi. Akhi means what? Akhi means what? Brother. وَوَصِيِّي means what? Wasi is someone who executes your will. So you put, after your death, you put someone, Fulan, my brother, my father, my friend, as an executor of my will, and wa khalifati, min ba'di. After me, he becomes my successor. 3 things. So in the tafsir, volume 19, page 75, he says, same guy, Abu Ja'far, this guy. He says, and the Prophet said, ala an yakuna akhi wa kada wa kada. In the history, what volume? In the book of history, 262. 262. Huh? Imagine the same author. He has 2 books. One tafsir, he says the Prophet said, the one who supports me is going to be my brother, wakada wakada. What does wakada mean? And such and such. But here in the history he says, he will be akhi wa wasiyi wa khalifati. What does that tell you? And there is some period between them.
Which one was published first?
Yeah, I was gonna say which one's published.
This one was published first,
The Tarikh?
and this one second. This one during here, house arrest.
So he had to modify because he was under persecution.
Yeah, because he was under threat, and he was named Rafidi now, so he has to be more careful. Some people say no, it was not him. He had enough courage to speak the truth. It is the nusakh, the typist. Today they call them typists. In the past, scribes, nusakh. Because the author himself, he would not write. The author dictates. Even today, many maraja, they don't sit and write. They dictate, and there is scribes, kuttab, nusakh, they write. So they say it wasn't his work. It was someone who wrote had prejudice. He was not honest in writing, so he put this in this. So politics plays a major role in shaping our history, the history of Islam, and our books and our libraries and our theories and our fatwas. Same like today in America. Today in America, you have some people who, despite the law, today, Pompeo came, he rarely has a, according to the NPR, he rarely has a press conference. Today, he had a press conference, he didn't mention anything about the impeachment, which is a very hot topic. He never mentioned it. But he said, he declared that the Israeli settlements from now on are what? Are legitimate. Since Carter's time, these settlements were considered illegitimate, illegal. Today they switched. From now on, it is legal. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. So imagine at the time of internet and media and information, age of information, age of transparency, they switch, with one statement, one person. You know why he did this? The analyst said, you know why?
He's in trouble.
No, not he's in trouble. He wants to support Netanyahu in the election. That's it. Supporting him in the election. So these things, don't be surprised when these things change. When history is changed, it's not. I am not surprised. I am not surprised. What else about him? What else? So his tafsir yet is considered one of the best maraja, references in the science of tafsir, in the science, because it is very comprehensive. And there are some samples of his tafsir, but I don't know whether we have time to. Of course, he's not, very, as I said, he's not perfect. Because again, he used to take the ma'thur from some people who are unreliable. Or sometimes the chain of narrator is unreliable. This is why he had Israelites and he had things that does not make sense. But of course, when it comes to ثم استوى على العرش, what does he say? Though he's under the يعني under the control of those guys, but he, what is the professional name of this group? The literalist. What is their professional name in the tafsir? No. They used to call them, if you check the books, you know, they call them Ahlul al-Zahir. The people of the surface. So they explain the Quran according to the surface, not according to the deeper meaning, not according to metaphors. ثم استوى على العرش. So when they come to ثم استوى على العرش, Dr. Ali, what do they say about it? Afsana, ثم استوى على العرش. ثم استوى, then God استوى على العرش. How they explain it? استوى, sat. Take your seat. ثم استوى على العرش, it means God sat on the throne. Whereas, what is the real meaning of it? This is a metaphor. Don't take the surface meaning. Don't take the literal meaning. Wrong. There is an inner meaning. This is a message. It has a metaphor. It has ta'wil. What is it?
His power over all of the creation.
He is in charge. Because the king, when the king sat on the throne, what does that mean? He assumed leadership, meaning that he is in control, he's in charge. When he sits on the throne, now he's in charge. So God is in charge of the universe. That's the meaning. Not that God has a physical shape and physical entity and physical mass, and then he sits on the throne. And he has a physical throne. He doesn't have physical throne. But the Hanbali Ahlul Zahir, they say don't tamper with the Quran. Quran has only one meaning, and that is the surface meaning. Yadullah fawqa aydihim, Sa'id. The hand of God, the arm of God is above their arm. So the Hanbali tradition, Ahlul Zahir say what? The arm of God? Physical. Yeah, physical. They say physical. And he has legs. And he has face. And people see his face. Physical face. Okay? Whereas arm means what? Qudra. The qudra of God, the power of God is above their power. وجوه يومئذ ناظرة إلى ربها ناظرة. People are going to wait to look at the face of God. What does here face of God means? Ahlul Zahir, they say face is face. Why do you change it? We can see God. And our biggest joy, according to them, on the Day of Judgment, our biggest joy, what is your biggest joy in this life? Here in dunya? Is to win the lottery, yes? Isn't it other than that? What is the biggest joy on the Day of Judgment? To see God. Not to enter paradise. Enter paradise is nothing compared to seeing the face of God. That doesn't work. Musa said, please let me see a glimpse of you. God said to him, إِنَّكَ لَن تَرَانِي. And Musa asked this not because of himself. He wanted his followers to know, to hear. God said to him, إِنَّكَ لَن تَرَانِي. I'm not a physical being. How do you want to see something which is not physical? So face here means what? Mercy of God. His blessing, His forgiveness, His mercy. Rahmatullah ta'ala. So Ahlul Zahir, this is the problem with them. Okay. So, of course, we have also, let me conclude with this.
So how does Tabari
Hmm?
how does Tabari
That-
interprets that?
Interprets what?
The Zahir.
No, not Zahir. He says he's not, he's against that. This is why he was persecuted. This is why Rumiya bin Raf, he was accused of being Rafidi because he opposed the majority, the opinion of majority in Baghdad. And then one day, let me conclude with this. One day in Baghdad, he heard a scholar saying that Ghadir Khum is not related to Ali ibn Abi Talib in any way, has nothing to do with the story of Ghadir Khum. Which prompted this man, noble man, to write a book of 2 volumes about the day of Ghadir. He has a book on the Ghadir, stating the ayat and the narrations and the hadiths of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam regarding the imamah and the wilaya of, yes, Tabari, this man, yes, in Baghdad. He did this in Baghdad. This is why when he died, he was alone under house arrest. Khalas, he's excluded. He did a gross violation by writing about Imam Ali and Ghadir Khum. So he was ostracized and marginalized. And he wrote another book about one hadith. He explains one hadith in one book. Hadith al-Tayr al-Mashwi. Do you know this hadith, my friends? The grilled bird. Al-Tayr, the bird. Mashwi, grilled. The Prophet was hungry one day. He spent most of his days hungry. Allah sent him a bird which is grilled. He was very happy. The Prophet said, I would not eat this until, oh God, bring me the most beloved person to you to share this meal with me. Once the Prophet finished his hadith, Imam Ali showed up. Look what the Prophet said to Imam Ali. He said to him, Ma abta'aka bika ya Ali. Why you are late? I've been waiting for you. Do you know when you love someone, even if you see him an hour before, okay, when he comes, he tells him, long time no see. You saw him an hour before, last day, last week, but you still, because you long for that person, you love that person. You tell him, long time no see. So this is long time no see. The Prophet said to Imam Ali, Ma abta'a bika ya Ali. Long time I haven't seen you. فَأَمَرَهُ أَن يَأْكُلَ مَعَهُ. The Prophet said to him, here, you have to share this meal with me. So Muhammad ibn Jarir al-Tabari, he writes a book. A whole book revolves around the story of At-Tayr al-Mashwi. Of course, he was, in this case, he was unwanted. Though he was a great scholar, great mufassir, great muhaddith, but once you say something in favor of Ali ibn Abi Talib and Ahl al-Bayt, you are blacklisted. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.